And with the weather warming up, many people are still at home because of COVID-19 pandemic, but a lot of people are taking advantage of the opportunity to work on some outdoor projects or just get outside. But with this week's heat wave, all that time outside, it could actually prove to be dangerous. Joining us now to talk about staying safe in the heat is Dr. Kenneth Robinson. He's the Chief of Emergency Medicine at Hartford Hospital. Dr. Robinson, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
One of the big differences that all of us are noticing this summer compared to others is that we are wearing masks when we're outside for a lot of outdoor activities. What should people be aware of when they're wearing masks outside this summer?
Well, it's going to be more difficult to breathe if you're exercising, for sure. If you're going to be outside in the heat, you might want to, if you have to exercise or you're exercising, try to keep social distancing so you can take the mask down. It would be really difficult to work out in heat and have a mask on.
So breathing is important and making sure you have the mask off at the moment. What other tips do you have for people to stay safe while they're outside in the heat? Because there are times, especially if you're doing anything at all physical, where it can feel downright oppressive out there.
That's right. The primary thing is to stay out of the sun if you can. Wear a hat with like a broad brim on it. Wear plenty of sunblock. And remember, if you're sweating, you need to reapply the sunblock every 30 to 45 minutes. Hydration is also really key, and you need to drink a lot more fluids than you think you might need to because you're going to be sweating. Like sports drinks or water, not caffeinated beverages because they can make you dehydrated. If you know you have to work outside, then you should try to schedule yourself some breaks so you can get out of the heat and get out of the direct sun. We also recommend wearing light-colored, loose-fitting clothing and taking it easy. If you are a person that needs to exercise every day, I suggest that you try to do that earlier in the morning or later in the afternoon when the temperatures are cooler.
What are the things that people should be looking out for when they're outside and those issues that you have to worry about? We're talking about dehydration, exhaustion, heat stroke. What are the signs?
Right. Dehydration really starts with feeling thirsty and maybe a little dehydrated, rather a little lightheaded or dizzy, perhaps nausea or maybe more fatigued than you think you would be normally with the same amount of exertion. The next progression in that is heat exhaustion, and people feel really tired. They could have a bad headache. They could be more nauseous, more lightheaded. They may vomit. And then the worst end of the spectrum is heat stroke, which is a very high temperature and usually with a change in behavior or a change in mental status. So to note for that, if you have a coworker and you're working in the heat and you notice someone has a change in the way they're acting, you need to get them cool right away. Get them out of the direct sun and heat and start cooling them, and you need to call 911 if they're exposed to the heat and they have a change in their behavior or altered mental status.
And just lastly, who would you say is most at risk for those heat-related issues?
The two populations are the youngest, kids and elderly. And so we suggest that if you have some elderly neighbors that you try to make an effort to check on them twice a day, make sure they have plenty to drink and that they have a cool environment that they can stay in so that they can avoid heat-related illnesses as well.
All right, very important tips. Dr. Kenneth Robinson, Chief of Emergency Medicine at Hartford Hospital, thank you for joining us.
Now with a summer holiday warning about drowning before you head out to the pool or the beach. ABC's Gio Benitez is here with a reminder about what to look out for. Gio, good morning.
Good morning. With such an important story, America has already seen more than 100 reported deadly drownings so far this year, all with children under the age of 15 in pools and spas. Nearly half of the drownings happening last month alone, and drownings are on the rise. So this morning, we put parents to the test. It looks like any other summer pool party, young people splashing in the water, parents enjoying the barbecue. But somewhere in this pool, 5 different swimmers are about to simulate that they're drowning. And we're wondering if these moms and dads can spot them. Drowning can happen in just seconds, and it's often difficult to spot. It's happening to someone in this public pool right now. Can you spot it? There she is. Fortunately, a lifeguard spots her and makes the rescue. But it's in residential pools, where lifeguards usually aren't present, that the majority of drownings take place. Safety experts say part of the reason, distracted parents, talking on their phones, grilling, socializing, and supervising other children with no water watcher, a person with eyes on the water at all times. So we've invited this group of parents to a pool party, assigning them tasks like running that grill and, of course, tending to their own young kids. We've also added swimmers splashing in the pool, but those swimmers are actually trained lifeguards and swim instructors from Swim Gym Swim School, skilled in mimicking a drowning. The parents know they're here to learn about water safety with some sort of demonstration beginning in about an hour, but since drowning often happens when you least expect it, we begin right now. With cameras rolling, I watch from a garage just next to the pool, observing some parents checking the water, but mostly they're focused on their assignments and the party. And after 30 minutes, there we go, she went under. Our swim instructor, Kelly, begins simulating a drowning, struggling to keep her head above water, arms clawing for the surface, and just like the real thing, she barely makes a sound. Meanwhile, our guests seem not to notice. More than a minute goes by. She's still struggling and nobody's looking. We're now looking at more than 2.5 minutes and still nobody notices a thing. After more than 4 minutes, she simulates a worst-case scenario and stops moving. Remember, she's a trained professional and is just acting. Josh from the American Red Cross has been watching with us. 4.5 minutes, still no parent noticed anything.
Right.
Does that surprise you?
It does not.
Kelly goes back to swimming, and we cue another swimmer, and another, and another. All mimicking a drowning, but nobody steps in.
We don't realize how quickly these kind of things can go from just a fun pool party to an incident where someone needs help.
So now the kids are going to get out of the water, they're going to go get some snacks, and they're going to leave someone behind, and that person is going to start drowning. After 30 seconds of purposeful struggling, this dad spots her.
You all right? Huh?
Within 36 seconds, he noticed.
It's great that he noticed. We hope that they would notice faster.
He says in some cases, swimmers can submerge in just seconds, making them even more difficult to spot. It's time to reveal our experiment. There were 4 drownings that nobody spotted. What's that make you think?
My kids were on the deck, so I turned my back. Doesn't mean there weren't other kids in the pool, though.
I got thrown off by the age.
Yeah.
So I think we took for granted that they all knew how to swim.
For the man who spotted our victim, it's too close to reality. You were visibly shaken.
Yeah.
Why were you so nervous?
It did happen to my child.
His daughter Valentina survived, but he says when she was just 3, she began drowning in a hot tub. He was on the phone.
I got a phone call and I got distracted and she was in trouble. So that brought memories.
Water safety experts say one of the solutions is a water watcher, somebody standing next to the pool, free from distractions, constantly scanning the water for any signs of distress, rotating every 15 minutes to avoid losing focus. We show the parents what they missed. This is that moment when she's motionless in the water. And this seems to be very emotional for you.
They're all our kids. What else do you say?
And experts tell us the majority of pool drownings actually happen when there are no adults around at all. So consider having a four-sided fence around the pool itself, not just the yard. There are also pool alarms that will go off if your child gets too close or falls in, but really supervision is key here.
And that water watcher specifically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great idea.
So key. Really good tips this time of year, Gio. Thank you.